This poem is about the Barberini Faun, which is a Roman copy of an ancient Greek sculpture which was found in the moat of Castel Sant'Angelo, which is the complex where the Emperor Hadrian was buried. And the Barberini Faun is, of course, a faun or satyr, which in ancient Greek art is used really as a symbol of male sexual virility and particularly sexual violence. But this is a sort of unusual depiction of a faun because he's presented sort of lying back in a rather supine and passive way. The Barberini Faun, a partial reconstruction. 1. His foot a hanging club, his legs an educated guess and flickering almost in their tension. The oblique angle of the pelvis and the ribs, whose presence you don't for a second doubt, is an innovation equal to the wheel, crop rotation, the discovery of negative numbers. His right arm someone thought better of. 2. When the Ostrogoths had only just begun their year-long siege on the capital, stone was stone, and useful for its own hard quiddity and not the accidental shape it was coerced into. Like everyone, he played his part. He was uprooted and thrown from the roof of Hadrian's tomb, and, as any soldier would reasonably hope, he took more limbs than he donated. 3. You can still see where Vincenzo stuccoed his thigh to the remnant of what it imitates, where Lorenzo and Giuseppe cobbled a patella and its hinge from the riddle of stones lifted from Castel Sant'Angelo's boneyard of a moat. It is harder to detect the trauma to his head like a fig relaxing in its own decomposition. 4. And you can just make out the nubbed horns in his hair's calligraphic nest, the twisted cord of his diminutive tail. He is clean-shaven, flaccid, his one remodeled foot is toes and skin and tendon, uncloven, unkeratinous. I'd rather not believe that he would spend his waking hours knee-deep in rape, despite the evidence. 5. It is hard to ignore his femoral curves, which guide the eye towards his proportionate balls and, obsequious as any frame, announce the significance of what they wrap around. And harder to refuse to read a meaning into the aleatory fact of his cock, whose glands has been snapped off and must somewhere still exist, worn small and smooth as an olive. 6. Confronted with this imminent tonnage, taking the shape of my desires, there is very little to prevent me from inflicting one more revision on the disputed and brutal text that is his anatomy. Just this suspicion that if he woke and saw the way I gazed at him, he would break my neck as soon as look at me.